Welcome to OneVoice series of webinars. I'm Roy Gilbert, the president of OneVoice. Today we're going to do a webinar on our option 2 or sphere 2 transcription service, and as well as the transcription service, we're also going to go over our workflow platform. This is going to be a little longer video or webinar than the others have been. Again, we're joined by Jennifer McCrimmon, who is our Director of Client Services and our Demo Specialist. Jennifer has been in the business for well over 20 years and has been with OneVoice for 13 years. And she is our go-to person when it comes to this technology. I'm going to turn this over to Jennifer. And as always, one caveat before we get started. For some reason, our software likes to be slow in these GoToMeeting webinars. We're trying to fix that, but for right now, please bear with us. When it's on your system, it's much, much quicker. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, and away we go.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar today. As Roy said, today's webinar is going to be a little bit longer, but we will get through everything, and thank you for attending. For this webinar, I'll walk you through our option 2 solution. This option is for those of you who want to keep your medical transcriptionists, or MTs as I will refer to them as. This webinar will show you how we can not only provide you with 100% management tools for not only your documents and voice file control, but also for management for your MTs and even payroll management. We're also going to show you how we can turn your MTs into medical editors. Utilizing our top-of-the-line voice rec, which is called Modal, I'm going to show you how we can get your MTs to, in a lot of cases, triple their productivity. Just a brief note on Modal. Modal was built by MTs. They really allowed us to get in and really have a lot of input on how it was developed. So a lot of the things that you're going to see is due to us working very closely with Modal in its infancy stage. So, all in all, I'm pretty proud of Modal, and it does a great job, and I can't wait to show it off to you. We're going to be covering several areas. So I'm going to break this webinar down. I'm available to answer your questions. I'll stop several times during the webinar and ask if there are any questions, and I'll be able to go over anything in more detail during these specific areas. So we're going to get started by, a lot of people say, why option 2? Or why a lot of our clients come to us wanting to look at our option 2 solution. Number one is they already have well-trained MTs. They've had these MTs for a long time. Their MTs know their providers like the back of their hands, and it would take us, in some cases, a long time to get to know your providers like your MTs already do. So that's one of the main reasons. Another one is their workflow's increased. They just got to the point where maybe an influx of dictation, or their turnaround is increased to the point where they realize they need to be able to either make their MTs more productive, or either hire additional staff. And of course, we opt for recommending increasing their productivity. And again, in a lot of cases, we can triple an MT's productivity because she's editing a document rather than manually typing it. A lot of times their in-house space needs have changed. A lot of things expand, need more office space, or need to create more space within the facility. So their office needs have changed, and they're looking for a way to let their MTs work from home, or provide them with more flexibility in their hours, especially if you're a facility that has needs more time-sensitive coverage, like weekend coverage or evening coverage. But this is still going to allow you to have complete management. So even if that MT is not in your office, you have complete control and complete management tools that you need to make sure everything's getting done the way you need it to. A lot of times payroll or benefit packages change, and you're just looking for a way to turn maybe your in-house MTs into independent contractors. So that's another big factor. And last but certainly not least is just the cost effectiveness. Instead of hiring that additional staff, let's take the ones that you have and make them much more productive. With our option 2 solution, a lot of times the cost can be as little as 3.5 cents a line. Again, it's completely dependent upon volume, and we'll go over that in more detail later. Okay, we're going to begin talking about our dictation capture methods. If any of you attended our option 1, you've already heard these options, but we're going to touch base on them real quick for this option 2 webinar. The first method, of course, is the all-familiar Olympus digital handheld. This is great for on-the-go standard dictation. This method does require our web-based installation called VoiceReader. This installation can be put on as many computers as you need. We even have it installed on laptops. A lot of times we have physicians that will say, hey, I'm going on vacation, I want to get caught up on charts, or I'm going to do them from home, and I want to be able to send them in from home when I'm finished with it. So we can put this on as many computers, laptops, PCs, or whatever that you need. You can also send your voice files in as often as you need to. The only real drawback to this method is your turnaround time's dependent on when the voice files are sent in for processing. So if you have a provider that leaves the recorder at home, or you can't get them in and get them processed until they're sent in. Our second option is our phone-in option. Although this can be used with any sized practice, it's especially used in hospitals and other institutions that use different form types such as H&Ps, discharge summaries, consults, things like that. This option also decreases your turnaround time because the dictation is sent in as soon as your provider hangs up the phone. So the minute they are finished dictating, once they hang up, it automatically comes into the system. There's no waiting for someone to send in the voice files. This option is completely customizable. So if your provider is used to a particular ID number or form type number, in most cases we can duplicate this for them. The only drawback is if you're using a cell phone, make sure you have a strong signal. I cannot tell you how many times a signal has been dropped in the middle of a provider dictating. So of course, just make sure you have a strong cell signal if you are using a cell phone. Our third option, of course, is an iPhone app. This turns phone into a recording device and works just like the standard phone-in option. You can still select your different work types for that H&P, discharge summary, or whatever you need. Also, with your standard phone-in and with the iPhone app, this can be set up very quickly, most of the time same day. We can have them up and dictating. Of course, with the recorders, we have to ship those out to you. Okay, we're going to go ahead then next, and we're going to talk about the modal installation and customization levels. This particular webinar is extremely difficult to do, mostly because the system's so customizable. This system, it's a one-stop shop. Everything is a web-based download. All of your management, everything, the voice recognition, everything is all in one. Depending on your customized access levels, employees will have access to various hot buttons. And again, this is completely customizable on your main screen. You're completely in charge of who can do what in this system. You can preset groups, and I refer to them as groups because you may have one or more person that has the same access levels. So you can have as many or as few groups as you need. And of course, we'll set all this up for you and can make changes as needed. And as you feel comfortable making changes, you can do this yourself, or we'll continue to take care of all the setups for you. That's completely up to you, and we're going to do as little or as much as you need. So keep in mind, as I walk through this demo, you decide who has access to the functions I'm showing you. All right, we're going to start with voice file management. In the account setup period, we will preset your desired turnaround times. So unless you have a stat need, everything will feed into the system in the order it is needed. In other words, an H&P. as long as it was, of course, dictated on the phone in or the iPhone app. An H&P will move ahead of a standard Office note or progress note. And, of course, this is fully customizable. Invoice Management, you have the capability to search files, to change the priority. It's very easy to go in. Right, you can search for all particular jobs that a provider dictated on a particular date, and of course there's various different dates that you can pull these up by, like the dates dictated. Once your voice files are displayed, of course you can go in and you can change the status of one. So if you need to go in, if it's an empty voice file, of course you can delete it. You can change the priority. If you need to go in and make something a stat, you can make one job a stat. You can make 200 jobs a stat. That's completely up to you. A lot of times physicians will come in and want all their files done by 5 o'clock, and of course that's when you need to move them all to the top. You can, of course, also go in and assign specific jobs to an MT. So if you have a particular MT that's going to work on a particular job, you can do that. So all that's available for you. Now, also, Invoice Management, you can see who is in your system at any given time. You can tell exactly who has a job checked out. You can even tell if they're actively playing the job. So it just gives you that management of knowing exactly who's in, what work is available, and actually who's in processing the work at any given time. Also, if needed, you can go in and play a job from here without having to go in and actually access the file. You can go in and just play it here. So basically, voice file management, everything, most of it is preset. Of course, you can select all of your different form types that you would like to use, but everything, the key to it is have as much done ahead of time. So when that voice file hits the system, then the system knows exactly where to put it in order for processing. You can also edit a voice file here. So if, for some reason, maybe the physician sends in something as an H&P, you can actually go in and change it to a discharge summary, and the system will then process it in the order that it needs to be processed. This is also where you will see your untyped work, or not yet, what I call not yet voice rec providers. And we're going to go over the voice recognition process and a little of that in more detail, but this is where you will see any job that has to be manually typed. This area is fully customizable and can be modified with access levels and privileges. You cannot give anyone access to this, or you can not give them access to assign or prioritize. Again, that's just or edit privileges, and that's just completely up to you. And I've got a question. Okay, Brandy's asked me about audit trails. Yes, ChartNet even tracks itself. So there's full audit trails in here. You can go in and see the details of the report, exactly who has accessed that report, and even if they have edited or made any changes in that report. And like I said, it even tracks itself. Any other questions? Okay. Now that we've talked about voice management tools and some of the preset selections, let's talk about what happens to your voice files, how you can track it, and what happens to the final document. We'll be touching base on voice recognition a little here. However, we're going to go into it in a whole lot more detail later. What happens if the provider dictates and the voice file is received into the system? In an instant, ChartNet and Modal recognizes whether or not the provider has completed voice recognition. Keep in mind, your physician does nothing to train the system. Most of our providers do not even know we use voice recognition. Once the system instantly decides whether or not the provider has been voice recced, depending on your customizable workflow, and we'll talk just a little bit about workflows, it sends the voice file to the proper area for processing. For instance, we have, and again, this is 100% customizable. You may have a general edit area where you can sort it out by specific jobs. Let's say you want all of your operative notes or all of your H&Ps in one particular area, or maybe you want all 3 work types in one particular area. You can sort it out like that. You can have just one general area that's going to feed into the system in the order that it's needed. Again, for instance, H&Ps need to be processed before some of the other work types. You can have one general work pool area. You can have 10. That's completely up to you how many different areas you want your work sorted out in. And again, depending on presets, it's going to feed in the order that they need to be processed. So what it's going to do is it's going to decide whether or not the particular physician has been voice rec'd, and if it has, it's going to send it over to what we call the draft or the edit area, or it's going to stay here and untyped. The MT will go in and manually type. The only difference is, now again, I'm going to touch base on this a little bit later, is she's going to be typing in the Modal voice rec software. And again, I'm going to show that to you in a little bit. But if the physician has not been voice rec, then it will stay in the untyped for processing. Okay, any questions? Okay, from here, wherever the voice file goes to, the report's processed by the MT. And again, we're going to be going over this in a lot more detail later, but after processing the voice file, depending on your MT and your delivery options, the report delivers. Again, this is all fully customizable, and we're going to go ahead and talk next about delivery options. And I do have a question. Okay, Jamie wants to know, does ChartNet allow for specific MTs to work on specific form types or providers? Yes, again, that's completely customizable. Your workflow, we're going to sit down and we're going to set your workflows for you. We're going to set everything up. If you need to go in and make changes, all you have to do is pick up the phone, give us a call, we'll go in and make those changes. But again, your workflow is very customizable. You can do it by provider, by work types, by MTs, whatever best fits your situation. Okay, delivery options. We have a ton of delivery options, and of course, all of that is completely customizable. Again, this is very hard to demo because it is so customizable. It can be done as preset automatic deliveries or what we call on-the-fly options, such as auto-faxing to referring physicians or specific locations and areas. Once a document is complete and ready to go, we offer, like I said, that wide range of delivery options that work simultaneously with whatever option or options you choose. We offer everything from standard printing, you just go in, click, and print, and everything's taken care of, to customizable EMR delivery. Yes, as long as your EMR is HL7, we can deliver your documentation into your patient encounter. EMRs vary widely. Some of them require full integrations, and some of them do not. So it's just very dependent on your EMR and your needs. But yes, we can take care of it as long as it's HL7 compatible. We also offer auto-faxing. This works great, especially for specialty physicians who want to send out a customizable or a nice thank you letter to a referring physician. We can duplicate the logos and the formatting that your staff and physicians are already used to. We can even insert a physician's signature on that letter. All we need to know is who to send it to. What we're going to do is we're going to build in a database for your MTs with your local referring physicians. A lot of times we get lists from hospitals, local hospitals, and we get those fax numbers and those addresses, and we build all of that into the system for your MTs, so they have access to it. We can also, when I talked about the simultaneous delivery, let's say you needed to have a copy of an H&P. Of course, they're left there at your office, but you also needed a copy of that H&P sent over to the surgery center, and you already know the patient's going to be probably admitted, so you want a copy to go ahead to the medical records department or straight on up to the hospital floor. Those are what we call simultaneous, and even on the fly. So your MT can actually go in and select from that list that we pre-built in for her. She can actually go in and select med-surg floor, printer 3, or surgical suite 1. We can build all that in for her, and she can automatically send a copy over to those locations for you. But the bottom line is we can take care of everything with your documentation, either with preset deliveries or on-the-fly special deliveries. And yes, with the faxing, let me just show you that real quick. You have complete control of your faxing. You can at any time go in and look at your fax manager, and you can see whether or not something is being sent, whether it has been sent. This system is also full of reports that you can run. Basically, in every area, you can run a report specific for that area. So if you wanted to run a specific report on all faxes that were sent on a particular day, all of that's available for you inside reports. But again, you can monitor this if something goes wrong. For instance, this one, the line's been busy. If it fails 20 times, it's going to go from sending to failed. It'll let you know that fax did not send, and you can go in for whatever reason and make an edit there, especially maybe the physician's fax number changed or something. You can actually go in and edit it, but it will let you know if something did not fax for you. And again, that's also completely customizable for you. Any questions? It's a little quiet after that section, so either I'm doing a really good or really bad job, but we'll just keep on pushing forward. The next and most important part of this webinar is our voice recognition software, Modal. It has been known as M-Modal. It's been known as AnyModal, and basically it started off in Pittsburgh, specializing in radiology. And what we did was we helped bring it into a more out of radiology into a general and specialized medical voice recognition. So I'm just going to take a minute. I just want to give you a couple of personal thoughts and a little bit of background, of course, on Modal. As Roy said, I have 20-plus years in the medical profession, 13 years with One Voice. In that 20-plus years, other than One Voice, I was also a traditional MT. So yes, I know what it's like to beat a keyboard for many, many years. I worked in a hospital setting, pathology setting, radiology, clinics, one-physician offices. I've done it all. So I've done my share of beating a keyboard. And whenever someone would mention voice rec, my eyes would literally roll across the floor. I had tested a lot of voice recognition products, mostly, with management coming in and wanting us to try these different products to see if they would work, and they just failed miserably. They were not MT friendly whatsoever. You could tell that, I used to say a programmer designed this and not an MT. But first and foremost, with voice rec, with Modal, a couple of things to remember. It's a computer-generated document, and it will make mistakes. It cannot go back into a document and add a sentence your provider is dictated to go back and add. So an MT or someone is needed to go back in and fix that. And in no way, shape, or form would I ever advocate sending through an unedited document. Even if the voice rec, and you're going to see voice recs hit 99%. Even if it hits 99% accurate, it has to be looked at and edited. Again, and mainly it's because of a physician changing their mind or wanting to move something around. Go back and add to at the end of my history of present illness, things like that. So it will forever have to be edited. And so an MT's main concern is it's going to take my job, and absolutely not. It will never replace an MT or a trained medical professional going in and looking over these documents. I'm going to start with the MTs, and then I'm going to touch base on the providers and their role in voice recognition. What we're going to do as a company is we're going to increase their productivity. In some cases, like I said earlier, we're going to triple it. And we're going to do this by taking all the responsibility from your MT. And let me just get in, and I'm going to go ahead and open up a report. Now, for the purposes of this webinar, this is a live report because I believe in showing you a true and accurate report in your demo during my webinars. What I do, of course, is I skip all the patient demographic data, so we remain compliant. So you will hear no kind of you will not hear the patient name and things of that nature. All right, this is actually our specialty draft. One of the physicians I'm going to bring up, he has a foreign accent. He has been on the system for about a year. And when we talk a little bit more about voice rec, we'll go into that in a little more detail. As you can see, he's up to 96%. It actually does a great job. And one of the main questions I get all the time is, what about my ESLs or my foreign-speaking physicians? The system's going to voice rec them. I always tell them, as long as he's not British one day and Asian the next, it's going to voice rec that physician, and it's going to do a great job. Once the system feels that it can type a report with at least 80% accuracy, it's going to automatically convert that physician over to what we call draft or edit. But the system doesn't stop learning. It starts looking at what your MTs change, what your MTs edit. It looks at every single document that MT submits, and it starts learning. That's what we call the learning engine. When that learning engine kicks in, that's when you start to see quality scores increase. You'll see them go up to 85, up to 90, up to 96. And yes, I have seen 99% accuracy ratings on them. But what we're going to do for your MTs to help them is we're going to take everything, all the responsibility away from them. Everything's going to be preset in the beginning. The only thing your MT has to worry about is patient information, making sure that patient's name, date of birth, whatever information you need on a screen, this is 100% customizable, is correct, and your MT is going to do that. Of course, it can be manually typed in. You know, some clients and physicians, you still have to manually type all this in. If you have a schedule that can be imported into the system, we can import that schedule where your MT just goes in. This particular one is not a master search provider, but master search holds all that patient information. Master search can also accept ADT feeds. So basically all your MT does is go into master search, key in a medical record number or whatever identifying number that you have, and it'll pop in all that information for the MT. So basically the MT just worries about this screen. Also on this screen is form types. Again, this is completely customizable. So if your provider or your facility has those different form types, HMPs, consults, let's say they have letters, your MT can actually go in and change those form types. So let's say in a lot of cases, we'll get a consult note, and then at the end of consult, the physician will say, okay, now I want to do a letter. The MT can actually split that report and go in and generate the letter form type. So then you end up with two documents. If a physician, especially with recorders, with the digital handhelds, because they do not have a way without getting extremely technical to differentiate between form types. So those who use especially recorders, the MT goes in and selects what type of form type the physician is dictating. But we're going to set all that up in the background. So all the MT has to do is go in, pop in the information, make sure that it's under the correct form type, and other than that, all she's responsible for is the meat of the report. What we do during, again, what I call preset or setup, we're going to go in and duplicate your forms. Even if you use an EMR, And so maybe, your margins and headers and things like that, aren't needed. We're still going to go in and set up general, we're going to go in and set up, general templates for you. For your documents. But let's say it's a letter. Let's say that you have to have patient name, medical record number, bolded, top left, skip down 2 lines, referring physician address. Let's say you have a logo. You want everything with 1 or 1.5 inch margins. You have a footer. Let's say you always have an ending signature line. All of that's pre-built for the MTs. So they don't have to worry about it. All of that's taken care of. The only thing they're responsible for is the meat of the report, what I call the meat, and that patient information. Another great thing with Modal is its ease of use. One thing we insisted upon was that it's based off of Microsoft Word shortcut keys. So Control-B bolds, Control-U underlines. You can copy, paste, you can drag, you can drop. All of that is the same inside of Modal. Your home keys, page up, page down, home, end, all of those work in Modal just as they do inside Microsoft Word. Of course, they can use expander programs, but what you will find is once you start editing, you no longer need those expander programs because they're built in for you. I got a quick question. Yes, templates and normals. A lot of physicians have those templates, the normals. Insert my normal review systems, insert my normal HMP. All of this is built in for your MTs. One of the great things about this, and this was another point that we really worked hard on, is you do, especially if you're doing any kind of radiology or things like that involve a lot of templates. You do not have to worry about your MTs getting Dr. A's normal review systems mixed up with Dr. B's normal review systems. It can be completely separate. The system completely separates them out. So when an MT goes in and accesses the templates that have been created or stored for that physician, she only sees the ones that are for that physician. So you do not have to worry about wrong templates getting inserted in on the wrong physician. And of course, that's completely customizable, and we'll help you build all of those in. It's very easy to get into, and thankfully we can just copy and paste them right in. So it's very easy. Do we have any other questions before we get a little bit more into editing? Okay, all right. Again, this is Modal. As we discussed earlier, when a physician first comes in and starts dictating, the MT is going to have to manually type the report while the system's learning. The great thing is she's going to type in this system. The only difference is this is what she's going to see. So she's able to get used to that physician. She's able to get in there and learn and let the system learn off of what she's typing. Once the system feels like it can manually type, that it can type the physician at least 80% accuracy, what's going to happen is then the MT will see this. So she always works in the same system. Now, before I get in here and actually do a little bit of editing, I'm not going to edit this whole document. I do want to put it out there that I'm not the best editor. And no, I'm not the one that's going to train your MTs. I will talk about Julie and our other key managers in just a bit, but I just wanted to be able to give you an example. The audio quality may not be as good as we would like because it is going through GoToMeeting and computers and telephones and headsets, but I do want to show you just a little bit. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of the patient information because we don't want to get into any of that, and we'll just listen to a little bit. Okay, we'll just start here. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to download my audio. Now, as an MT, it feeds the audio and all that feeds in directly for you. You don't have to manually go in and download your audio. Modal also contains Stedmans. We did mention referring physicians list and how we'll build those in for you. It's very easy, so if you have to do that carbon copy to a physician or you need to insert that physician's address for a letter, we can build all that in for you. If you use AutoFax, all of your autofaxes are built in here, and we can even preset it to where, let's say you always want your letters to autofax out. All that MT does is select the physician, click on use, it pops everything in for them, and it automatically faxes. So again, it's completely automated. But I did want to show you that referrals list and make sure I got the complete Stedmans in there. All right, it's downloaded. We'll go ahead and get started. And again, this is a pediatric cardiologist.
She's a 2-month-old youngster who was diagnosed with a heart murmur shortly after birth period. At that time, she was in the newborn ICU for symptoms of respiratory distress period. An echocardiogram was performed and it had shown a moderate-sized PDA with elevated pulmonary artery pressure and small aortic secundum period. Now,
With voice rec. And again, this is something else, reason why we will always edit. Grammar. And yes, I saw where someone just asked me a question about punctuation. They don't have to dictate punctuation. Of course, you know, the more they dictate, the better it is. But again, that's why we edit, because we need to clean these up. You know, a lot of times you'll get those run-on 2-paragraph sentences, and you know, so you always need to go in and clean them up and help them out. You know, a lot of times when they dictate, the tense of a word will not be correct. So we'll go in, and a lot of them, you know, are just like me and are very grammatically challenged, as I am. So we do need to go in and help them out.
Pulmonary artery pressure and small aortic secundum period. She was therefore sent for cardiac consultation today, period.
Okay, I'm going to skip down, and we're going to listen to a little bit of a physical examination portion.
Sure, healthy appearing youngster, respiratory distress paid weight is 4.9 kg per examination. Heart showed normal first and second heart sounds, period. There's a grade 1 to 2 over 6.
As you can see, it missed the 1.
There's a grade 1 to 2 over 6, short systolic ejection murmur localized to the left upper parasternal area, period. No clicks, hollow systolic murmurs, continuous murmurs, diastolic murmurs.
Okay. I want to show you a little bit about how well it does on some of these ECGs and things.
Demonstrate sinus rhythm and no chamber enlargement, period. Due to baseline artifact, corrected QT interval is difficult to define, it is probably normal, period.
Okay, does a very good job. And again, you can detect that he does have a foreign accent. He's been on the system for about a year. This particular report is what the system considers 96% accurate. By the looks of it, it might be a little more than that. It does very well, even on assessment and plan portion.
She does not need any specific precautions or limitations from a cardiac standpoint. New paragraph at this time, we did not advise.
Okay.
Reduced in size, and it's a very small defect with a minimal left-right shunt, period. There's a high likelihood that the defect will continue to get smaller and may even resolve completely by 2 to 3 years age, period.
Okay, that is Modal. As you can see, it does an excellent job, and it does nothing but continuously get better. The longer that physician's there and dictating, the better the voice rec gets. But of course, like I said earlier, they always have to be edited. I touched base a little bit on the expander programs. Adam had a quick question about them. Yes, that can be imported in, but again, once an MT starts editing, they don't use expander programs anymore because the text is in there for them. Of course, in typing, they still use them, but yes, in many cases, and that's something that Julie works with. Julie's our director of training. She takes care of everything. When I say Julie is a pretty much minute-for-minute editor, she is pretty much a minute-for-minute editor. She works very well with MTs, and she knows how to get them in and get them working. And one of the things that she does do is she takes care of getting their existing expander programs in for them. There's any questions on the actual Modal portion? I can bring up another document. Sometimes, especially when I pick a document, I hate it when it is so clean because I don't want people to think that that something's inky with it. But this just happens to be, this is a very good physician. Okay, we're going to move on into management. Let me get out of this so an MT can go in and process it. So before we head into management or more, complete management tools, I want to touch base on report search and some of its functions. And again, sometimes ChartNet can be a little slow whenever it's going through GoToMeeting. On your end, it will not be like this. Let's see here. It may not like me aborting out like that. Okay, report search. This is also completely up to you who has access to it. It can be used a lot of times. This is something that regular office staff uses as a means of pulling reports and on-the-fly distributions. Let's say one of your patients is over in the ER, and the ER calls and says, "I have patient such and such. He was seen in your office yesterday or day before yesterday. I need that office note." Office staff can go in. They can pull it. The report search here works just like it does over in voice management section. The only difference is, of course, you see the actual report inside report search. You can search by patient name, medical record number, by provider, any way that you need to. Also in report search, you can pull up one patient at a time, or you can pull up 200, whatever your search criteria needs. But let's say that ER calls. The office staff person can actually go in here, pull that report, and very easily send it over to the ER for process, or fax it over to the ER so they have a copy. And that's used off of that referring physicians list that I showed you earlier. Okay. Hang in there, everyone. We're actually rounding the corner to the finish line. And so I do want to go ahead and touch on management and reports. Let me just get out of here. And we'll go over. Again, the key to this is management. You've got to know what's going on with your reports, with your voice files, with your employees at any given time. This gives you that complete control. Another area that we have is reporting. There are hundreds of reports in here, customizable reports. These are, let's say you want to run line counts for specific physicians. You want to know exactly what that physician's dictating. You can run those. Let's say you want to run a list of patients, all patients that were dictated on in the month of December of last year. You can actually go in and run those reports. Again, there's hundreds of reports in here to choose from. There's summarized reports and there's detailed reports. One that I'm going to show you that we use ourselves a lot for management and what we use for payroll. I went ahead before this webinar and I ran a report on myself. This is one of the reports that is available. This is one that we actually use for payroll and just for tracking, just to know exactly what's going on or has been going on. So we're able to get in. This is a detailed transcriptionist report. The system considers a transcriptionist anyone that processes a report, whether it's manually transcribed, whether it's edited, or whether it's QA'd. And one area I forgot, when I was doing the voice rec in Modal, if an MT has an issue with a report, let's say she has a blank, she cannot understand what the physician's dictating. Let's say it's an incomplete report. Maybe it's one of those cell phone dictated where the dictation ended or cut off with a cell phone. With one keystroke, Control-G, she can put what we call a marker in the report. And what that does is it stops it from delivering. It can go into an area that you designate for someone else to go in and listen to, or just hold it in that area until the physician can go back in and finish dictating or correct the dictation. And so it's very easy for that MT at any point to stop the delivery of that document or stop it from processing to the next level. I did forget to touch base on that, and I do apologize. This is a report. This is a detailed report. You can run it for any date range that you need, 2 weeks, a month, a week. For this particular webinar, I just ran it from the 1st of this month through yesterday. Gives you login, tells you exactly what report was done when. You know, you can give you character counts and line counts. Very detailed. It also, date range you run it, it gives you daily totals. So if you want to just go in and look at your look at a daily total, you can. And MT also has access to her or his personal reports. So an MT can go in on a daily basis and see exactly what they processed. But of course, the only difference is they do not have access to other MTs' information, only their own. This gives you daily totals. It also breaks everything down. So if you have, for instance, an MT, whether you want to pay them by the line or if you want to pay them by the hour, it breaks it down. So if you have an MT that's manually transcribed, let's say that's primarily what that MT does is she's taking care of getting your doctor's voice rec for you. It's going to tell you how many reports she manually transcribed. Let's say then the rest of her day was spent editing reports. It breaks that down because a lot of times people pay differently. They pay an MT differently if the job is manually transcribed or if it's being edited. But it does give you the line count and the elapsed time that was spent on it. It gives you these daily totals. It also gives you a grand total for whatever date range you've put in. This is the part that we use ourselves for payroll because we're able to go in and differentiate for that date range that you've put in. Okay, any questions? You know, again, these are very customizable. I just wanted to make sure I showed you this report because this is a main report that people use for management because it does give them everything that they need. Okay, wow, we're doing really good. Okay. As I said, we are rounding the corner here and about to wrap up this webinar. Let me get back out. Okay, I did have a quick question. Give me just a moment here to make sure I'm understanding it completely. Okay, yes. He was asking again about the physicians and the voice rec process. So let me just touch base on it again. When a physician dictates, when the system feels that it has reached 80%, when the system feels that the system can type the report at least 80% accurate, there's nothing an MT has to do. It's automatic. It flips it over and starts typing it itself. That 80% is also customizable. So let's say you feel you get in there and get to typing and you say, look, I think 75% is fine. That's completely customizable. We just preset it at 80. That's just what we feel gives is 80% is where the MT starts doing gets a lot of benefit from editing rather than going in and manually typing it. Okay, did that answer everything for you? Okay, all right. We're going to getting started is very painless. We're going to do everything possible to make it as seamless as possible. We begin with a conference call or an on-site visit because I love to travel. We'll do an on-site visit. We gather as much information up front as possible. myself or Donna. Donna Gaines is our Director of Operations. She is spot on with account setups, getting everything rolling for you. She takes care of the groups that we discussed, access levels, workflows, things like that. And while we're working with gathering information and the setup, Julie Stemkowski, who is our Director of Training, begins working with your MTs. As I said earlier, she's almost a minute-for-minute editor, and she knows how to get your MTs up and running very quickly. She does this in group sessions or one-on-one training, whichever works best for your MTs, because all in all, we want your MTs to be comfortable with this. So we're going to do everything possible and to make them feel as comfortable as possible. I also like to make sure that you don't panic. While your MTs are training and getting up to speed, we're not going to let your turnaround time slide. We're going to help as much as needed while your MTs train and get up to speed. We will get in and process work for you. We'll take care of whatever to make sure that your turnaround time is not affected while your MTs are in and training. We also offer PRN coverage. So if you have just an onslaught of work, or if an MT goes on vacation or medical leave, we got you covered. All you do is let us know, and we'll put an MT or two in there to make sure you stay caught up and that you don't get behind. As far as management training, we'll take you through everything at your pace. So if you want a little help, we are here for you as much or as little as needed. We will take care of all the initial setup, and all of this is at no charge. And again, we're going to do as little or as much as you need us to, and we'll walk you through everything at your pace. And I have just a couple more quick questions, and we're almost finished, folks. Once again, I failed to go into enough detail about the pricing and the EMR cost. If you were in our option 1 webinar, I did the same thing there. Our option 2 costs are based on volume and the complexity. However, it can be as low as, I've seen some as 3 and 3.5 cents per line. Again, that gives you everything. That gives you the voice recognition. That gets your MTs 3 times more productive. It gives you more flexibility with your MTs, again, whether they need to work at home or, sometimes they just want MTs to have access for night and weekend coverage, holiday coverage, things like that. So you're going to get all of this, at a very, very, very low cost per line. As always, it's a 65 visual black character. There's no hidden charges. I've seen companies that they'll say visual black character, but bolds or 1.5, underlines an extra 2, or God forbid you have a paragraph or a carriage return in there. They're going to charge for that. We don't do any of that. As far as the EMR integration, there's no charge from our side. As a matter of fact, we already have several integrations with some of the top leading EMR companies in place that we work with. Also, in certain instances, and it's really dependent on volume and other services that you may select, we've picked up the integration cost from the client's EMR side. So that's something that can always be discussed and looked into, and worked out if it can be. Any more questions? Automated coding. Yes, we do offer the automatic coding. I'll have to admit, this isn't my area of expertise. There's a ton of information on our website, and there's also demos available on this. We have partnered with an excellent company. We work great together, as far as integrating and getting documents over into the coding software in order to generate those codes. Right off the top of my head, I know they're doing ICD-10s, CPTs, DRGs, and I know they're even doing the PQRS reports now, and I know there's others, but again, it's not my expertise. But I do know of those right off the top of my head, but there's a lot more information on the website on it. Any other questions? Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging in there with me for this Option 2 webinar. I know this was a long webinar packed full of a bunch of information. As always, please call me. Call the main office. Our number's on the contact page. And in 8 out of 10 cases, I'm the one that's going to answer the phone. So please don't hesitate to give me a call. I'll be happy to do a one-on-one demo with you, go into anything in more detail with you. Again, we'll work with management, we'll work with your NTs, and we're going to do it at your pace, at what you feel the easiest with. So just give me a call if you have any questions or need some additional information, and I'll look forward to speaking with you. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Roy.
Great job. I know it's there's a lot of information there, so please don't hesitate to give us a call. You'll be able to get a hold of Jennifer. All of our contact information is on the website, but I'm going to give you the phone number right now. It's 910-506-3342, and that'll get you probably to Jennifer 9 out of 10 times. Unless she's on the phone, then it'll roll over to Donna and to Julie. But don't hesitate to call. Please send us an email. This has been recorded. We're going to put it out on our website, and we appreciate everyone for being engaged, for participating, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.